In this video, if you're in a sales job right now where you're not making any money and the leads are terrible, I'm going to tell you why that's happening and how you can fix it. So what I'm going to tell you is how to make sure that you only get into sales roles where you're talking to qualified people that want to give you money. That's how we fix this. And spoiler alert, the reason a sales job usually sucks almost 100% of the time is you just don't have enough qualified leads to talk to for you to make good money. That is it. So how many times have you gotten on a sales call in any sales job and the person was just totally unqualified? They weren't even really sure who you were or what you were selling, and overall it was just a total waste of your time and energy. You get off like one sales call and you're just like, oh, it was completely draining, trying to convince this random person to buy your shit. So let's talk about why this happens first and what to do about it. When someone buys something, or before someone buys something from an internet business, there's a process that they go through. People will either see a paid social media ad or they will see some social media content, and then at some point they'll go and schedule a call. How long they have been familiar with this person's business is going to determine how fast they close in many cases. What do I mean by this? If someone sees an Instagram reel for the first time one day, and then they go to that profile and they see, oh, this business is selling a coaching program or a marketing service. This seems interesting. I'll check this out. And then they immediately go and book a call. An hour ago, they didn't even know who this person was. When they get on that sales call, how likely do you think they are to buy? The likelihood is basically zero. They're not going to buy. Unless they're just in the perfect place where they were in so much pain, it's highly unlikely that sales call closes. And if they do buy that fast, it's because they were already aware of this niche and that there's other people who've been making content about this same niche that they've been watching. So they've already been familiar with it. An example of that could be, let's say it's a meta ads agency and they've seen other people's content on Instagram for the last couple of months who are making content about meta ads. Then they saw this person and they thought, oh, well, I like this person better and it was a good time, so they go and buy. Now, the second scenario, someone sees some content on Instagram. They start following them, they check out their YouTube, and they watch this person's content every day for a month. At this point, they're very familiar with that person, with their business, who they are. They understand what the product is, how it works, and all of the worries that were like holding them back, any questions that they have been answered just from watching the content every single day. That person, when they go and schedule a call, is highly likely to buy. They're thinking, I have this problem, this business can solve this problem, I trust this person, etc. And when you get on that call, it's a layup. They already know that they want to buy. Their questions have been answered through the content. So many of the objections that you might have gotten on a sales call, those have already been solved. They already know the answers to those problems. They just scheduled the call because they're ready to go. Those two scenarios are what plays out before someone schedules a call. The first person is highly unqualified. The second person is highly qualified, generally. Now, is this how all calls are going to go 100% of the time? No. Idiots are always going to schedule sales calls with you. There's never going to be a 100% qualified rate of your sales calls. But how do you get onto calls with more people that are qualified and less with the idiots, the unqualified people? How do you create that ideal scenario for you as the salesperson? The first and easiest way to do this, we kind of already talked about, is either you or the business needs to make really good social media content. The content educates people and it gives them a lot of information on how this works so that they can learn that on their own, not on a sales call. And they can do this by watching the content and then make an informed decision on if this is for them or not. So they don't need to get on a sales call to ask 50 questions and find out if it's right for them or not, because the content answered that for them. And by making really good content, you naturally filter out a lot of people who are not right for the product. And it's going to attract the people that this is right for, which is key. So this benefits both sides. You're not wasting any time with unqualified people, but they also don't have their time wasted either. Another simple way to do this is on the call application. When someone goes to schedule a call, they have to fill out a call application with a few questions. So you just want to be very specific in your call application about who this is for, but also who this is not for. Ask them if they're financially qualified, things like this. And many people who see, oh, this is not for me, they're not going to schedule the call. That will screen out a large amount of people right there. So you're screening up front beforehand and making sure that all of the people, as many as possible, who are not right for this call, you don't get them on the call. Screening people extremely hard on call applications is so underrated. But most businesses don't want to do this because they suck at business. So they think getting as many people on calls as possible is a good idea. And then there's hoping their poor salespeople will convince these massive amounts of terrible, unqualified leads to buy. This is the worst possible strategy ever. And this is another good point because no one understands social media and internet businesses. I see older adult men who've sold companies for like $50 million or whatever, just extremely successful adult men on Instagram who are now trying to sell their coaching programs like this. So they either post no content at all, barely, right? I go to their page, they haven't posted a reel in like weeks or months. And then when they do post, it sucks. And they're also just spamming like mass cold outreach to people or to their followers. Like someone follows them and they immediately DM them. All of this is wrong. And these people obviously know business because they're ultra successful, have made tons of money, but they have no idea what they're doing with social media and internet marketing. And this could obviously apply to 20-year-olds as well. I'm just using an example. But all of these things are wrong. You only want to speak to qualified people because you have the traffic to do so. It's not like there's a shortage of leads on social media and the internet. That's the punchline. So don't worry about scaring a large amount of people off. This is what you want. This is how you end up with a lot of the right people buying. As long as you have the traffic flow, again, which the internet and social media gives you. It's endless. Next, and this is the same concept as the content. If a business is running paid advertisements, which these days social media advertisements are just social media content with money behind them, you need to have the copy, the messaging in your ads dialed. Now, depending on the funnel, key point, the copy in the ads needs to be extremely specific. So it needs to speak to that person, not generic copy that's trying to mass catch everyone's attention. When you try to speak to everybody, that's how you end up with tons of unqualified calls. You're only trying to get people to schedule calls who this is right for. We don't want to get on sales calls and have to like strong arm people to buy. We only want people who this product is genuinely going to benefit and help. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, well, I'm not the business owner. Well, what does that have to do with me? I don't post the content. I'm just the salesperson. I don't do the funnels and the call applications. I don't have control over any of this. No, you don't in a lot of cases, but some you do. But this is the main point is that this is going to tell you how to identify which businesses would be good for you to sell for. And I'm also teaching you stuff you're going to have to learn anyway in the long term to succeed at this. So when you get scheduled for an interview, you have the ability to go and look at things like the business's social media. Look at this stuff. And you can see, are they doing these things? Do they have a legitimate call application, etc.? And as a salesperson, what you can do yourself before the calls to make sure that people are more qualified is this. What I will do is I will look at my call schedule the day before, and then you send everyone who's scheduled some type of video or something informative to those prospects over text or through the DMs the day before the call. So an example, I'll send them a message, say, hey, this is some more info about what we're going to be talking about on the call tomorrow. Make sure you watch this before the call. And then that makes the call go smoother and then more likely to close. Sometimes it could just be a testimonial video like, hey, this dude, these work really well. You can be like, hey, this dude's just like you. Look at the result we got him. Isn't this crazy? And that's the day before the call. And that's like the last thing they see before they get on a sales call. So that's something you could do. And when you're interviewing for sales jobs, you just want to make sure that you only take jobs with businesses, obviously, that have their shit together. I can't believe I have to say this, but that means they have a high volume of warm inbound leads. And those leads are also qualified and they want to buy. So you could ask them questions on the interview that are going to give you this information. How many calls do you get a day? How do you schedule those calls? Where are these leads coming from? How do you generate leads? So all those, just those base questions give you give you a ton of answers about what's going on inside this business. Now, knowing if leads are financially qualified though, and if they are actually warm, these are different things. So what you can do before you take a job, you can just see if they have a good product that's getting people results. If they have that, then you do not even need to be good at sales. Good products sell themselves. People want to buy them. And they will have tons of people scheduling calls legitimately just off that. Because if a lot of people are getting results with a product, then the business is going to market the shit out of that. And other people are going to want to buy it. So if you're in a bad sales role where you can't make any sales and everyone that you get on your calls with is an idiot, basically, this is usually why. It's almost always a problem with either the business's product or their marketing. And in this case, marketing means social media, content, or ads. If you just fix those two things, you will never run out of qualified leads. And you just screen the shit out of people and you only talk to super qualified people. And as we talked about at the beginning of the video, pretty much in any bad sales job, it's because you don't have enough qualified people to talk to. Why do you think all bad sales jobs, you're just like cold outreaching to thousands of random people like, oh, does anyone want to buy this? It's because you don't have the qualified leads. If you have that, you're good. That's the end of the video. If you want my help getting a closer role or a setter role, go to the links in the description. Until next time.